Hey guys! So in this video we're going to be introducing the basic if statement in Java as well as conditionals. So let's say that in your code you have a certain piece of code or a certain statement that you only want to execute if a certain condition is met. Okay, so for example, let's say that only if a number is even do I want to print it, right? That's an example where my condition is, okay, is this number even? All right, and only then do I want to execute a statement, which in this case is a print statement. And these are really useful, and you actually see them all the time without even knowing it. For example, here we're familiar with the run button, right? When I click on it, it runs my program. But that right there is also an example of an if statement, where if the button is clicked, then I want to run the code. So if statements are super useful and you're probably going to use them all the time. Here's what the syntax for it looks like. Type if and then parentheses, and inside the parentheses goes your condition that you're checking for. And then you use curly brackets. Alright, so basically what's happening here is if this condition is true, then execute whatever is inside this pair of brackets. Okay? Now, something to know about conditional statements. No matter what you're comparing, if you're comparing numbers, if you're comparing characters or doubles, right? If you're comparing and it's a conditional statement, it's always going to return a Boolean value. Okay, so for example here, if I have is 4 less than 10, this right here is a conditional statement where I'm comparing two ints. But this returns a Boolean value because we're using a conditional operator here. Alright, so let's talk about some of the basic conditional operators. To check if two values are equal, use the double equal sign. Okay, notice how it's not the single equal sign. Single equal sign is only used for assigning values. Okay, but the double equals is, okay, is the value on the left equal to the value on the right? Alright, and then just like in math, we have less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to. Alright, so let's see some of these in action. Let's say I have a variable int a, and I'm going to assign it a value of 5, and a variable int b, and I'm going to give it a value of 10. When I print out if is a less than b, and I run this, it's going to return true. Okay? Notice how it's a Boolean value, right? True is a Boolean value. Is a greater than b, we know that's going to be false, right? So it's going to print false. We can do greater than equal to, and let's say I made this 10, and that would return true, right? But if I did a is only greater than b, right, this would return false because 10 is not greater than 10. All right, so these are some of the basic kind of conditional operators for values, and you can use this for characters too. But it gets a little weird. So for now, we're just going to use them for ints and doubles, okay? So why don't we go back to that example where if a number is even, then I want to print it, okay? So let's have an int number, and I'm going to give this number a value of 5, right? So that is not even. So now pause for a moment and just try to think, how can we check if a number is even or odd? Are you thinking? Okay, let me show you how. So let's use the variable, right? We're checking if number, and then that's where we can use the modulus operator, right? So how do we know if a number is even or odd, right? If it's even, that means that it's divisible by 2. And if it's odd, that means it's not divisible by 2. Right? So that means, and what's the definition of divisible? Well, that means there's no remainder, right? So if we want to know if a number is even, then we can do if number modulus 2, okay, equals 0. All right, so let's just pause for a minute. What is happening here? Here we have our value, okay, and in this case it's 5. And we're using the modulus operator, and we're dividing it by 2, and we're getting the remainder. So this expression right here is going to return, in this case, 1, okay? So now what this if statement is checking, okay, is 1 equal to 0? and 1 is not equal to 0. So whatever we put in here is not going to execute. But if my number had a value of 4, let's say, right? Now 4 divided by 2 is 2 with a remainder of 0. So this expression right here is going to return 0. And now, is 0 equal to 0? Yes, it is. So then we just want to print out our number. Similarly, if you want to check if a number is odd, then if a number is odd, then it's going to have a remainder of 1, right? 5 divided by 2 is 2 with a remainder of 1. So here I could put 1. And what that would do is it would print out the number only if it's odd, right? So in this case, if I were to run this piece of code, nothing would happen because it didn't enter this pair of curly braces because this condition is false. But if my number is odd, then you'll see 5 printed out. Cool, so that was just the basics of an if statement and the basic conditional operators. I'll see you guys in the next video.